Hi, I'm making a game about a sad Mars rover. Or at least I was, until my computer decided to explode. Which was nice. So I've had to spend nearly 2,000 English pounds on a new computer, which didn't arrive until the 28th of the month. Which was nice. So now I've got no game, no video, and 3 days to do something. So let's make a game really quickly. So I had this idea the other day where you play as a bird and it falls out of its nest and you gotta fly back up to the tree to go home. I called it Fly the Nest, but that might change. But that's the idea. Also, fair warning, I had a pretty busy month and a pretty busy couple of days even after I got my computer. And I'm not legally what you could call energetic. So bear with me. So, sitrep. It is currently 9:34 p.m. on the 30th of January. Bit late, I know, but here we go. Here's what I've done. Here's what I did yesterday, I should say. So, first off, we have a player. Once Unity loads, we have a player. The player can move, and that's as fast as the player goes, because I don't want you to be moving on the ground. I want you to be moving in the air. And if you press jump, then you jump. Believe it or not. But if you jump and then jump again, you will flap and you'll get a little bit of an extra double jump kind of thing. And that's going to be the main mechanic. So that's going to be how you move around. You build up momentum and then you have to flap, and then you'll bounce off like that. So how does any of this work? Well, let's have a look at the code, shall we? So there's lots of variables up here which you don't really care about. Let's get to the fun stuff. So if the player is on the ground, that's the important thing, if they're on the ground or not. So for that we have a box cast, which I didn't know was a thing. I thought that was what happened if you injured your groin. But no, a box cast is like a ray cast, but it checks if anything's in a box instead of hitting a ray, which is easy enough. So we say from our position, we give it the size of a box. I don't know what the 0 is for. What's the 0 for? The angle. Angle 0, we don't want to change the angle, we want it to be normal, perpendicular to the ground. Transform minus up, that's down. And then cast distance and the ground layer. The ground layer is just all of the floor, so if it's hitting the floor, that's all this box is checking. It doesn't check if we're hitting anything else. And then cast distance we can change. And if the box hits something, it's true. If it doesn't, it's false. And then I also put this little draw gizmo-y thing, so we know where the box is. So if we go into Unity here and I zoom in, can you see this little box here? That's the little box. So if I were to change, I don't know, the cast distance, we can see the box moving up and down, and then also the box size here. We can make it wider or we can make it taller. But I don't want to fiddle with that. We'll leave that there. So that means that if this part is touching the ground, then the player can jump. They can fly up. But how do they fly up? Well, if the stamina, we ignore that. That just means that the stamina goes up. We'll go to that in a minute. So first we get the input that the player is putting in. So it can be anywhere from, I think, minus 20 to 20. I think they're the minimum and maximum. And then we calculate the move force with that input. So we make a new vector, which is the move value, and then we multiply, or drag the comma around. So we take the move value as the x, then we don't want any y movement. Then we multiply that by speed and by time.delta time so that it's the same on all frame rates. And then we keep that. We save that there. That's move force. We'll put that to one side. Then we want to check if we're jumping. So if the player jumped this frame and we have enough stamina to do a jump, then we add a jump force, which is literally just jump force in the Y slot, and then we take off the stamina for the jump. And then if the player is moving, so if the move force is anything but 0 basically, then it's going to be amplified. So that way, when they jump, it feels more like they're leaping in a direction rather than just Because, you know, the move force, it's basically, if this isn't here, it doesn't feel like you're moving sideways at all. But then once we've applied that, then we just add the move force, which is only an X direction, so that's fine to just add that as is. And then if we're not grounded, that means that we're in the air. And so if we jump, then we want to check we've got enough stamina for a jump. So if there's more than 2 stamina, then we do a jump. We add a force, which we calculate the move force again, because I can't be bothered to... It's bad programming, really. I've got repeated code here and there, but yeah, what can you do? You know, just wanted it. This isn't a professional game, gang. This is a very quick slap together. My computer died and I need a backup problem game. TM. So I calculate the move input again, multiply it by something, and then apply a flap force in the Y direction, which is like the jump force, but it's named flap force instead, and it's slightly weaker. And then if we have stamina left, but it's less than 2, then what we do is we add that force, but we multiply that by how much stamina divided by 2 we've got. So if we've got 1.8 stamina left, then we want to be using 90% of a flap force, because that's 90% of the stamina it takes. So what we do is we divide the stamina by 2, which in this case would give us 0.8. I think. Yeah? No, 0.9. Maths is hard. Anyway, dividing it by 2, because we use 2, if we've got less than 2, then that means we'll end up with a number that's between 0 and 1. And then so multiplying by that gives us the percentage. And then we set the stamina to 0. And then after all of that's done, we just clamp the velocity so that they can't go too fast either side, and they can't go too high or too low, too slow. Right? So basically, if we don't have this one, then the player will be able to run a bit quicker, which isn't a huge issue. Like there's friction and there's air resistance, and that's just a bit of a safety net. But for this one, if you don't have this one here, let me show you actually. So if I were to comment this out, then let me show you what a normal flap should look like. And then let me show you how you break it. So if we jump and then we flap while we're in the air, that will apply the flap force. But if we want to do it in the most efficient way physically, we need to jump quickly, because then that will apply more force instead of it resisting force as we're going up. Like if you wait till the apex of the jump, you're effectively having to apply all of that acceleration again, so that takes some force out of the jump look. So if you're going down, then obviously you're going to go up less. The force can only push you up so much, right? So that's what it looks like. But if you do it both really quickly while you're still moving up, if I wait for the stamina to recover, I bet they didn't have enough stamina then. But if you do both, if you jump twice really quickly, then you get this huge leap, which isn't how physics should work really, and that's not what I want you to be able to do, which is why we have this line here to stop that. Easy. And then the only other thing is that we have stamina. So stamina is set to 5 at the moment. You're going to get more stamina through the game through picking up collectibles. It's just a nice little way of progressing. If the stamina is less than the max stamina, which is 5, then we set stamina to increase by time.delta time, which is the amount of time between frames, and the recovery rate, which at the moment is just set to 1.5. I might increase that. There might be another way of upgrading if you wanted to do that, but yeah, that's the basics. That's where we're at right now. And as I say that, it is 21:42, and I'm not going to get a chance to work on this tomorrow really, so I'm in for a long night. So here's what I managed to get done last night. I made an owl sprite, which I noticed just a second ago isn't rendering properly, and I don't know why, so I'll fix that another time. But yeah, I made an owl sprite. I made walking and flapping. You probably can't see that very well. I'll put them up on the video. I made walking, I made flapping, but the problem is I haven't animated it yet. I don't really understand how Unity Animator works, and I don't care to particularly. So I'll figure that out soon-ish. Then also, you may see here, there is a feather. And if I go to the player here, you can see the player has 5 stamina, which will be depleted whenever I jump. But watch what happens when I grab the feather. I pointed the wrong one. Max stamina. I had 5 max stamina, and now I've got 8 max stamina. Ta-da! So now I could do an extra flap. So that's going to be the sort of progression, basically. You're going to have to find feathers as you play the game, and then you'll be able to flap more, and then you'll be able to get to higher areas. Yeah. Oh yeah, I also added in that you can hold the fly button and glide for as long as you have stamina. So I've got, although it's not actually deprecating stamina while I'm doing this, so that's a bug. Or it's just I haven't done it. But yeah, if you hold the jump button, then you'll glide down gently and you'll be able to steer yourself a bit better. So that's where we're up to. It's currently 6:42 on the 31st of January. I've got to get as much done as I can and make a video before tomorrow morning. Oh yeah, and I have plans, so we'll see how that goes. Right, I can't remember what time I started, but it's currently 1949, as you can see down there. And not as in a few years after the Second World War, as in it's 10 to 8. And I've done some things. I've added some changes. I've fixed all the sprites. You can see all the sprites look proper now. They've not got any weird compression or anything like that. Issue was over here. This compression was set to just standard, and I don't want it compressed. What do you need to compress 32 by 32 pixels for? Stupid. So, fixed that. Still not animated the character, but I have made some extra floor pieces. I added a stamina bar, so you can see how much stamina you've used, and then if I can get up here and get this feather, then my stamina is increased, and then I can attempt to fly over here. It's a bit tricky, but that's part of the fun, right? That's part of the game. And now I can get up here. So that's the core concept. This is like the best demonstration I can show you. It's sort of like, what's that game where you've got to jump with the dude? Jump Night? I can't remember what it's called. That really tricky one where it's, yeah, you're gonna have to go up. That's the game. You gotta go up, and you gotta get to the top. And if you slip, you're gonna fall a long way down, basically. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm gonna wrap up here, and hopefully polish this up and release it next month. And then we'll get back to the good old-fashioned Perry stuff. By the way, Perry's my game that I'm making full-time. Well, not full-time, because I have a job, I have a life. But Perry's my main game. So if you enjoyed what you see here, maybe go and watch some of the other videos. See if you enjoy those Devlog as well. See if you want to, subscribe, stick around, like a video, add a comment. But most importantly, wishlist the game on Steam. Please, 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 please. I'll put a link in the description. Yeah. I'll see you next month when, hopefully, nothing else explodes.